for me, it's about creating the life you want. It is a tool. It's not going to do it for you. You have to use the tool, but it is a tool and it comes with so much support.
You're listening to Permission to Offend, the show that helps you live a life fully self-expressed so you can easily step up to your next level of faith, worth, and wealth. Each week, I show you how to stand up, speak up, and own your power without worrying about being judged or offending others. I'm your host, Rachel Luna, and it's time to get offensive. Let's go. What's going on? It's your girl, Rachel Luna, and you are listening to the Permission to Offend podcast. And today I have a very special guest with me, my friend, my book writing coach, and my client, Candice L. Davis. Candice, welcome to the show.
Hey girl, thank you for having me.
I can't believe we haven't had you on the show before.
Well, I'm here now.
I know, thank God. Okay, so Candice, first of all, let's talk about how your life was way back when. So I think maybe we should set this up for our listener. So today, one of the reasons why I wanted to bring Candice to the table first and foremost is because I want you to know her. She was instrumental in helping me write my book, Permission to Offend. And I think having community and having someone to support you during those big goals, the big things that you're trying to do is so important. And so for me, it was such a treat when this whole time Candice is supporting me on the journey with Permission to Offend. And then she flips the script and is like, okay, friend, I need you to coach me. So I wanted to share sort of our coming of age story and also talk about your journey and where you've been and where you're going. So what was life like before you started journaling, before we started working together?
So I've always journaled, right? But I have always struggled to make a journaling practice work for me. I've followed other people, followed their practice, bought books, bought guided journals, all that stuff over the years. I mean, I'm talking since my 20s and I'm 52 years old. So like I have struggled, but I would see little results. So I would keep doing it and keep looking for a way. I'm a writer, so processing on the page, of course I want to do that, right? But before we started working together, running a business for me was total overwhelm, Rachel. Like if I use the word overwhelm once a week, I used it once a day, maybe 10 times a day.
Really?
Yes, I was constantly in overwhelm, constantly. And the biggest change I got from following your journaling practice, well, in a mindset way, because I've had some more practical changes too. I rarely feel overwhelmed. Right now, I am somewhat behind on deadlines, right? But I don't feel overwhelmed. I still get up and practice, do my journaling every day, and it keeps my mind out of that sort of spinning out of control that I used to be very, very prone to before I got into this practice.
So was there a rock bottom moment? Was there a moment where you're like, okay, this is it, I'm done?
Rachel, so many. I have threatened to quit like business and just like get a job. I have not had a corporate job since I was 27 years old. Wow. So a long time.
Yeah.
And in the last, I would say maybe about 5 years ago, I was seriously thinking about just saying, forget it. My business is making money, but it is wearing me out. I cannot keep doing this. And when I was starting to have some health challenges, because it was health challenges because I wasn't taking care of myself, right? I was focused on the business. I really started thinking, I just gotta throw in the towel.
That's so interesting. I kind of want to pull at that for a second because I feel like I talk to so many people who are in that position, right? The business is actually working, but it's destroying them in the process.
Yep. And that's the business I created because I wanted time and money freedom.
Oh gosh, I was just interviewing my friend Dan Martell. So his episode will air after yours. but we were talking about that exact thing, this whole idea of buying back your time and not creating this business that you hate, that you dread, especially, okay, with the work that you do as a book writing coach, an editor, a former ghostwriter, which we'll talk about how you no longer do ghostwriting.
Amen.
But in the work that you do, I would imagine you're taking on all of our crap. And listen, we could talk about you coaching me. Was that a walk in the park?
Absolutely not, but it was delightful nonetheless.
It sure wasn't. And listen, I am woman enough to admit that we all have those moments where we're in our own little spiral. We're in our cul-de-sac of self-doubt.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling those moments with you. And what I experienced with you as me being your client was that I never felt alone in the journey. And if I was, in the weeds, I felt like you were there, not weeding with me, but you were there to help me get out of the weeds.
Yeah.
But I also remember there were times it would be like, I don't know, 7:00 at night. And I remember one time I was in the grocery store parking lot. I'm like, oh my God, I can't, I'm having a meltdown. And you were there with me. And so I'm just thinking about anybody that's listening, when you're doing the kind of work that we do, we're coaches, we're teachers, we're mentors, we're healers. There's so much propensity to take on whatever's happening for our client if we don't have a process, a tool to process. For me, at least, that's what journaling is as well. So tell me, you hit this rock bottom moment. You're at the point of overwhelm, like enough is enough. Did you have this idea of like, okay, if I can achieve this one thing, then I'm good? Or for you, was it just like, I just never want to feel this? What was actually important to you in that moment?
I deluded myself into thinking that if I changed the way my business was set up, that I would change the overwhelm. It had to happen the other way. It actually had to happen the other way. I had to learn how not to fall into overwhelm so that I could position myself to change the way I did business. And that's a big part of what the journaling helped me do, because once I started to unwind that sort of like tight cord around my neck, it was around there every day, like somebody was just tightening it up. And as I started to unwind that through the journaling process, I could breathe, I could see things that were right in front of me. Actions I could have taken before, they were there and I hadn't, because I was so given to the overwhelm. So I really had to do the processing first before I could take the action.
That's so good. Were you doing anything else? Like, did you try any other courses or programs to get over the overwhelm? Why are you laughing?
Girl, because I bought apps. I signed up for programs. I had my poor husband in here doing like morning meditation with me, like all different kinds of meditation. I tried all the things and I was journaling, but I didn't so for example, one person's method that I followed really just had you like, just purge yourself on the page every morning, right? Which can be a little bit beneficial, but there were no next steps. So for me, it was temporary relief, right? I could purge that out and get it out, but it wasn't getting me where I needed to go. So yes, I tried many, many, many things and they all had some benefit, right? They worked to some extent, but all the results felt temporary.
Yeah. I mean, but isn't life temporary?
I mean, I guess all things are temporary, but I do need results that last more than a couple of hours.
Okay. Well, and I think that's a really good point. So let me kind of dig into that, because yes, everything in life is temporary. So nothing is going to work forever, ever. Right. But what you said was, I needed something that was going to work for longer than just a couple of hours. So you needed something that was going to carry you beyond the day.
Yes.
And I think that that's something that we forget. In fact, you just mentioned that I didn't realize that, yeah, that I have invested in things before and they did help for the, it's almost like taking a temporary pain reliever, right? Like taking a pill and then after the 6 hours, the migraine comes back and sometimes it comes back even worse.
Yeah.
So interesting. Now we got connected. How did we get connected?
Patrice Washington.
Shout out to Patrice.
Thanks, Patrice.
Yes, right. Because you were, okay, so you were working with Patrice. You were, at the time that you and I connected, you had helped her edit her
second and third books.
Second and third book. And then I came in to you with a whole different book idea. Do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am. I absolutely remember that. Your book has changed dramatically from what you originally wanted to do, but I will say it is so much deeper and so much better. The first idea was good, but this is like next level.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's next level because you really dug into me. And this is where, I don't know if you know this part. I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, but there were times like you would ask me questions and I would be so pissed off at you. I mean, I would be so mad because I would have turned in pages to you that I'm like, good, done. Let's move on. And you would return it to me with really good questions to get me to go deeper. And I just did not want to go deeper. And do you know why? Oh my gosh, I can't even believe I have to take off my glasses because I'm admitting this to myself. Like I have to rub my face. Okay.
Okay, friend, you got this.
Listeners, I just want you to know, like I feel like I'm going deep into like my truth, the parts that like I don't want anybody to know. Maybe it's not that dramatic, but it feels that dramatic, which is exactly why I wrote the book, because we start telling ourselves these stories. But there were times where you would send me back my pages and the questions were forcing me to go in and ask myself questions for the reader, like ask myself questions to ask the reader that I didn't want to answer. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
I didn't even want to know the answer for myself.
Yeah.
And so I am a very big proponent of, if I'm asking you to do it, I'm going to do it first. All the journal prompts that I give in Faith Activated, I answer them first, months before they make it to you all.
Yeah.
And then when I see them again, I'm like, why did I do this to us? What the hell was I thinking? Like, this is a hard journal prompt, but I just want to like, let's just take a moment to really sit into the gift that is you and the way that you helped me make this book so much better. Because if I didn't have you to push me as a writer, this book would, honestly, I even hate to admit it, but it would have fluff. It would have fluff. And I hate fluff-filled books.
Yeah.
But now having gone through this process, I understand why writers keep it superficial and fluff, because they're not willing to do the work. Yeah. They're not willing to go into that dark abyss. And I think that that's the value of hiring you, not someone like you, because you, and I remember you said, I don't know if you remember this, but there was one time where you were asking me to go deeper on something. And I was like, I'm done. Can I just be done? Like, why do I have to go deeper? And you said, maybe not in these exact words, but this is how I interpret it. You said, well, you don't have to, but then you're just going to have fluff. You could just be on the surface. But is that what you want? Is that the kind of book you want to write? And for me, it was like, no, that is not the kind of book I want to write. Damn it to hell, Candice Davis. So
you don't have to go deeper. No one has to, right? My job is just to give you the option. If you want to take that path to be the person who writes a substantial book. Yes. Or if you want to, and look, some people write fluff and some people read fluff, right? That's not our lane.
No, it is not our lane by any stretch of the imagination. And I don't want that. I don't want that for myself. I don't want that for my reader. And thanks to you sometimes like some of the things that you challenged me on, I spent days in my journal processing, crying, like having these come to Jesus moments. I remember there was like one time I had really bad writer's block. I mean, I felt like there was a weight on my chest.
Yeah.
And you asked me like it was like such a simple question too. And I was like, okay, let me think about that for a second, dry my nose and pat my eyes. And then I realized that the reason I had writer's block was because I was telling the reader to give themselves permission to offend with the people that they love and care about. But I wasn't doing that with my husband.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I had this moment where I was really angry at him. I had a lot of negative emotions and I was feeling super neglected, just all the things, right? Marital problems. And I felt like the biggest fraud writing this book. I felt like, wait a second. But I can't remember the question that you asked me, but because you asked me that question, it helped me have that moment of, oh, wait a minute, I'm out of alignment myself.
Yeah.
So I cannot go further. My soul will not allow me to write another word until I get real with myself and then with him. And do you know, Candice, that I was right here in this very chair, maybe not this chair, maybe I had a different chair, but in this spot. And I opened the French doors and I march over to his office and I'm like, I have the worst writer's block. And it is because I am not being honest with myself. And there's no way I am going to put out a book and tell people to give themselves permission to offend. And I'm not even doing it in my own damn house. I mean, like I had like a reaction. It was not a response.
Oh my gosh.
It was a reaction. I was not a response. It was a full on reaction. I talk about the difference between response and reaction.
Yes.
And then I realized like, oh no, wait a second. I'm having a reaction. This also is out of alignment with what I teach in the book.
Yeah.
So dial it down and bring it back.
Yeah.
And then we had a really great conversation. And do you know, I came back and I finished all the edits that needed to be done after that. So I want to take a moment to just thank you for being in my corner, for being my writing coach, for being my book therapist, for being my editor. Because that would be another thing. I remember saying to you, don't edit this for grammar. Just give me the context. And you're like, yeah, that's not really how I do things. And I'd be like, and you'd come back with the commas and the periods and the this word and the prepositions and it's infinitely better. This
all
book.
Part of the process, my friend. It is all. And so I'm laughing so much. The reason why I'm laughing so much is because it was such a delight to coach you because you actually did the things. So not everybody is willing, when I say to go deeper, right? So they might do a little bit, but you really dug in and did the work. And yes, I agree with you that you needed that moment to get in alignment, right? But that's not to say that you have to be a perfect walking example, that you're never going to struggle with any of this stuff again in order to write the book.
Right. I think it's actually an unrealistic expectation that we impose upon ourselves to learn how to do something once and never make the same mistake or never struggle with it. That's not life. That's not even close to reality.
Exactly.
And so there are still times where I am giving myself permission to offend, or I'm having reactions instead of responses, or I am out of alignment with my own true character because I'm having a human moment, and I will stop and say, oh, wait a second, I'm doing it again.
Yeah.
And Candice, Candice, you're also on my mastermind in addition to Faith Activated, but were you on yesterday's call where I said to one of the members, I said, you're doing it again? No, that was in the evening.
No, I was on the morning call.
That one. So in the evening, two of our members, they were repeating a pattern. And I said, I'm going to tell you this with love, but you're doing it again.
That was the morning.
We did that in the evening too.
Oh, okay. That was definitely in the morning. Because this person set themselves up to like really like present their service.
Yes.
And then they sort of took it back and
Yes,
you
right.
called them out on it so fast.
Yes. But here's the thing. Equally, I call myself out.
Yes.
Equally, I'm doing it again. I'm falling
Absolutely.
into this pattern. I'm letting this story take me over. So then it's like, let's go back to the journal. Let's write, why am I doing this again? What is the thought pattern? What's happening? So thank you. And I want to plug you really quickly. If you do not do ghostwriting, so thank God for that. Those days are long gone. But and by the way, listener, it almost sounds like we're ending the interview. We're not. But I don't want the interview to end without, if you are a writer, an aspiring author, a storyteller, maybe you have already published a book and you want to publish another one. Because I published my first book, Successful People Are Full of Crap. And to be honest with you, I don't even sell that book anymore because I think it's crap. It's not, but it's poorly edited. And so when you have the experience of working with Candice and having a beautifully edited book, and then you have like your first solo attempt is just like wackadoodle-doo. But tell us how can we work with you? I mean, I know, but.
Yeah. So the primary way that people can work with me now is I coach in my group, Authors Ignited, and you can find it at authorsignited.com. And right now, if you hear this episode before January 12th, you can get a bonus one-on-one coaching session with me if you sign up. So, and that's really limited.
That's a steal.
Yeah.
That's a steal. And for the record, I don't have an affiliate. Maybe I need an affiliate.
You do.
No, I do.
Yes,
okay.
I've been telling you for months.
You have been saying that. Okay. So maybe my link is an affiliate. Maybe it's not. But the point is, if you have been wanting to write a book, then Candice is the book coach for you.
I got you.
Okay, so now that I've gotten my plug aside, because I just love you. But okay, so you did the things didn't work long term. You and I get connected through our dear friend Patrice. So shout out to Patrice Washington. What was your biggest fear or reservation about working with me, getting into journaling the Faith Activator way?
So I'll be honest with you. I didn't have any fears about working with you. Like, because when we were working on your book, periodically, I would say something and you would say, can I coach you on that? I would be like, well, yeah, right. So I already knew what kind of person you were, what kind of coach you were. You're giving me value at a point where you're paying me for service. Like, come on. So that wasn't the issue. I was more concerned that I'm going to do this one more journaling process. It's going to take up way too much time. It's going to eat into my day that's already quote unquote busy and overwhelming. And then it's not going to get me a result. That time factor was huge for me.
So how did you overcome that? Like, what was the moment where, hi, honey just got home. So what was the moment where you actually said, you know what, I'm gonna give it a go. I'm gonna try. Who knows? Like, yeah, tell me about that moment.
It was so funny because I went to Confidence Activated, the event that you're no longer holding anymore, sadly.
Woo-hoo!
Sadly for the rest of us, excitedly for you. But I was talking to, first of all, I saw like the community amongst the people who were members of Faith Activated who would come to Confidence Activated. And I was like, oh, well, I want a little taste of that. And then I heard them talking about the process and the results. And I was like, come on, Candice, come on, just get it. Just try it. And I did.
Yeah. So it was really the people.
Yes, it was the people and their results, though. So the people were great. I'm all for that. Like, I've met great people, but the fact that they were talking about the results that they were getting and it wasn't taking them all day to do it.
Yeah.
That was big for me.
I love that. Cause did you know this? Here's another little secret. I feel like I'm just telling you all my secrets today. Spilling it. Okay. Did you know that for me, time is like something that I've had to overcome? It's a mindset block that I've had to overcome because my biological mom died so young. And then my dad was sick. And from a young age, I knew he was dying too. I mean, everybody's dying, but I had that fear that like, there's not enough time. There's never enough time. And if I'm not doing this, then I'm wasting time. But, you know, if you do a belief audit, and a time audit, which I talk about in the book, you'll see like we are wasting. I just learned this today from my friend Dan, that we are wasting 22 hours a week.
That's
22
painful.
hours. Yeah. And here's another fun little fact. If you pad like 5 to 15 minutes in between your calls, do you do that, right? You start a little padding, you do a meeting.
About 50% of the time I do. I don't do it all the time.
Yeah. Well, if you do the 50%, that could add up to about 90 minutes a day where you're doing nothing.
Wow.
So when people tell me like, I don't have time to journal, I am thinking, friend, you're mismanaging your time and energy.
Absolutely. Well, also you're imagining that it's going to take way longer than it actually takes, Rachel.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not an hour process, y'all. Like,
I mean, well, okay. I don't lie to the people, Candice, because sometimes it
could be.
I just talked about this in one of the podcast episodes, the most recent podcast episode, first episode of the year, I think, actually. 2 hours it took me from start to finish of a journal entry, but it wasn't the average everyday journal entry that I give out. It was, I had a really triggering event, and this exact same event would have taken me weeks, if not months, to get over.
Yeah.
And with the journaling, and in the 2 hours, my kids were interrupting me. So yeah. Okay. So you start journaling. What was that process like, doing it the way that I teach it?
So it was surprising because I felt like, okay, I've done the parts that you teach, but I haven't done them together. So in my mind, I've done this already, right? This is not anything new. But the reality was, when you put them together in the order that you put them in, it is something new. So I also didn't kind of trust that. So, you know, you feel better, right? Initially, it's like a feeling, but is that feeling going to translate into action in my life? Am I going to really, because feelings will not get us there by themselves, y'all. So, you know, you got to do the action too. And Rachel does not lie about that. She does not pretend that you just write and, you know, all of your dreams come true. So I was concerned that I was going to waste it, I guess. Like, so I would do all this work and then I wouldn't take the action. Yeah. But it really does. If you desire to take the action to have the thing, it really moves you to a place where you can. So the feeling just opened the door for me to be able to take the action and do it without forcing myself, without beating myself up to do it.
Was that surprising for you, or was there something?
Yes. No, that was super surprising, because I've done all kinds of like self-coaching things, and I do all that stuff, right? Yeah. I've tried, and they all serve me in some way in different things, you know, but I couldn't say that I necessarily had something that consistently set me up to take action towards the things I wanted.
Yeah. What was the hardest part for you about journaling?
Even though I've journaled for a long time, being honest.
Yeah.
Being honest, like trying to do the
being honest.
Being honest, yes. Like,
I thought you were saying like, well, being honest with you. No. Being honest.
What's the hardest part? Because it's very easy to like hold back and filter a little bit.
Yeah.
Even though, you know, like nobody in my house is going to read my journal. We respect each other's privacy in this house. Maybe when I'm gone, my kids will read it, but I'm gone at that point. So whatever. Right. I'm in perfect place at that point. So who am I hiding from? I'm hiding from myself, right? There were things that like I didn't necessarily want to fully admit on the page, but I had to get myself to a point where like, ma'am, you're not doing yourself any favors to just hold it back like that. Like, it's hard for me to say like anything negative about my husband in my journal because I love him so much, right? But there are moments, friends, like there are moments, but it was hard for me to like say the truth about those moments and some of my worst behavior was also hard to write about.
Oh, that part right there.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like you wanted to quit when you were having those moments?
Oh, there were times I quit.
Oh, you did quit. It wasn't just that I feel like quitting. I'm just done. I'm almost quit. So you quit. What made you keep coming back? Because you still follow the method. You're still in Faith Activated. So what makes you keep coming back even though you've quit?
Because I missed the result I was getting. So, and also it helps to get the nudge in my inbox that says, here are your prompts for the week, Candice, which says to me, this is not that hard, Candice, just do the prompts. Just do the prompts. Like, you don't have to get creative with it. You don't have to think of anything. Just respond to the prompts. I was missing my results. The prompts will bring me back. But there were times where definitely I was like, oh, forget this. This is hurting my feelings, but kept coming back.
Wow. Okay. So can you remember like your first big win with journaling? Like, do you have that? Oh my God, this actually does work.
So it's not like a concrete win so much as it is I hate the word mindset these days because it's so overused, but it is a mindset win, which was, I built my business largely on ghostwriting and writing books for and with people. So I was coaching and editing, but I was doing a lot of ghostwriting, and I had been trying to get out of it because it's just really exhausting if you're doing it at the level that I was doing it. And so I really wanted to transition fully into coaching, and I could not convince myself that was possible, Rachel. I kept saying, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I was saying it to people. I was saying it in mastermind groups that I was in years ago. And I never really took action to do it because I could not convince myself that it was really possible for me until I journaled about it.
Wow. I think that is one of the things that people really don't recognize is that, we hear the words manifestation and it gets really tossed around. And I mean, I think I was guilty of that in the beginning too, of like manifestation, just manifest it. But we forget that the one of the greatest gifts, in my opinion, with journaling is the breakthroughs that you get to have in knowing yourself and understanding and really calling yourself to court.
Yeah.
Just like you said, like being honest with yourself. So now that you've overcome these roadblocks and the overwhelm that you mentioned in the beginning, now that am I understanding correctly that even though you quit, you keep coming back because you know that there's the promise of a result if you do it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
So what's life like for you now?
It's weird because you would think that my business has not changed dramatically yet, right? So I've phased out ghostwriting and all that, but my business is still, I'm not in a place where I've got the team in place yet that I want. I still do a lot myself. But it's not overwhelming. I have a certain sense of peace. Don't get me wrong, I can get crazy like anybody else, but I have a sense of peace around the future of my business that I didn't have before. And I just don't fall into overwhelm. If I even feel it coming, I know how to process it and move past it.
That's so good.
Is huge.
It peaceful? Does it feel peaceful?
Super peaceful. I'm also probably a much nicer person to live with.
I think you're so nice. How could that be?
Girl, check in with my husband.
I have checked in with your husband.
You have.
I have. That's the kind of coach I am. If you're acting I need to enroll everyone in the vision in the home of what's happening. And he says you're delightful.
Well, I try, but I would say if we go back a few years, I was probably driving my whole family crazy because I was constantly overwhelmed. Yeah.
Because you were in overwhelm. And when you're in overwhelm, nobody's, happy life, happy wife. So, and the same thing, right? Happy husband, happy family. Like,
yes.
When people are unhappy in the home, everybody's unhappy.
Correct.
Okay. So what advice would you give to someone who was like where you were with the overwhelm, with the concerns about time, and they're thinking about, Faith Activated is opening. Maybe I should jump in.
So first of all, do not let Rachel's little 2-hour journaling story scare you. That is not, Lord have mercy. Okay, so no, do not let that scare you. Because I write like a lot, I write big. I probably take longer with the process than some people. I tend to write in a lot of detail. But you can, if you really felt like I don't have time, can you commit 10 minutes a day to getting the life you want? Because this is really about creating for me, it's about creating the life you want. It is a tool. It's not going to do it for you. You have to use the tool, but it is a tool, and it comes with so much support. Like the community is awesome. The calls are awesome. Just getting the prompt in I'm not kidding. Getting that in my inbox is a big reason why I know I come back to it. I'm like, oh yeah, it's there.
But what about, okay, so you've mentioned the prompts that arrive to you. I understand that people can just Google journal prompts. So
you can.
Why should they invest? At the time of this recording, Faith Activated is $1,555 for the year. Why'd you make that sound?
Because they're getting over. Like, that is such a deal. You don't even have a clue what a deal that is. If you don't jump on that, you're crazy. That is a deal. But why not just Google journal prompts? You can knock yourself out. I did that before. I did that years ago before I ever even heard of Faith Activator. I don't even know if you had started yet when I was doing it. Yeah. You can, but where are they coming from? Do you know the source of those prompts? Do you know who's designing them? I could go on an AI app right now and say, write me 20 journal prompts.
Yeah.
And post those on the internet, and they have no relevance to you, right? They haven't been tested. They haven't been tried out to see what kind of results they can get. So yeah, you can do that and knock yourself out, but I don't think you can expect the kinds of results that you get from prompts that are actually specifically chosen for this process.
Yeah. And the community, I think, but that's just me.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, what are you excited about now that you've overcome the overwhelm?
So I do have to say, so I am in your mastermind.
This is true.
And I don't know, we were maybe 1 month in when I just had like a couple of huge breakthroughs. And I am most excited about like moving through those breakthroughs. And one is in my marriage, one is in my business. And those are the two most important relationships because my kids are grown and gone, right? So they have their own lives, grown and gone. So they have their own lives, but those are like the two most important relationships, my relationship with my business and my marriage. And I've had two huge breakthroughs in there. So I'm always a New Year's person anyway. I'm not one of those people who thinks it's a BS holiday. I think it's whatever you make it, darling.
That's right.
And I make it wonderful. So it's a fresh, clean slate. And I'm just really looking forward to moving through 2023 in breakthrough. Like those are things that are going to carry me through this year.
Yeah. I love that. I'm with you. And I mentioned this on our mastermind call. For me, there was something different this year. Even the way the couple days before the new year, like I ended 2022 with the energy and the enthusiasm that I wanted to bring into 2023. And a lot of that I was able to identify through my journaling practice, right? Like having pen in hand, examining like, who do I want to be? What are the characteristics? And to be honest, like usually I'm looking at I still have my list. Candice, you know exactly what this is. My rumpled goals from 2022, which I failed like on almost all of them.
Welcome to my club.
Yeah. But you know what? I know exactly why. Like I can look back at my journal entries. I can look at these goals and I know exactly why some of them didn't hit. Some of them were beyond my control. And I've talked about this, like me being a New York Times bestselling author in 2022, that was beyond my control.
Right.
But I have not yet, well, actually earlier today I did, but prior to the new year, I did not set goals for 2023 because as I was journaling, I really was just leaning into what was true for me.
Yeah.
And in that moment, it wasn't true or correct for me to set goals.
Yeah.
And I think that is like one of the greatest gifts that we have from journaling, that you can decide what is true and correct for you in the moment. If I had set goals then to force them because, oh, the clock is going to strike midnight. I think that's where a lot of these 2022 goals came from.
Yeah. You had to get them out.
I had to get them out. I looked at them. I was like, I'm not getting that out. But then today I was journaling again. I was preparing for another interview. I mentioned my friend Dan Martel. And I didn't just set goals for this year. Like I cast an entire vision for the next couple of years. That is so different than let me make goals for now. But I would never have gotten there without that journal process.
Yeah. And part of what I took from the journal process, but also from your recent anti-vision board party, that was so good, was to really focus on not just the achievement goals, right? Because there are things that I have monetary goals for my business, blah, 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 but the actual actions. So I can't control what the sellers do, but I can, what the buyers do rather, but I can control the actions I take to put my offerings in front of the right people, for example. I can't necessarily control what my blood work numbers will be when I go to the doctor, but I can control what I put in my mouth.
Hey.
Hello.
Testify.
So focusing on those kinds of goals, that was really more of my process. But again, that came from when we journal and we're creating the vision. It's not just the vision of what we want, right? It's what we're doing to get it.
Yeah. That is so good. And by the way, if you're listening and you want access to the anti-vision board party that Candice just referenced, that is actually going to be a exclusive bonus inside of Faith Activated. Candice, you've already got it. But the Faith Activated journaling experience, well, it's, we named it.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Okay. Do you remember, Courage, Pastor Courage Molina?
Of course. Yeah.
You remember the live stream that she did calling me a liar?
I don't.
Links in the show notes of episode number 87 of the Permission to Offend podcast. So in episode 87, let's reference this for our listener because they are going to want to go see it if they missed it too. So episode number 87. Oh, there it is. Next Level Clarity in 2023 is the name of the episode. But I link back how Courage called me a liar.
Ooh.
And then she went live and she was like, Rachel Luna is a liar.
Ooh.
She keeps calling Faith Activated a journaling experience, and it's not just journaling, it's coaching, it's this, it's that. And so she was like, she needs to call it something else. But I thought for her to be so passionate about it, I was like, well, I need to honor Pastor Courage Molina. Y'all go visit Courage Molina and show her some love. If you're watching this on YouTube, she has a YouTube channel. It's called The Dose of Courage. She does Sunday school services and Bible study and all the things. And I feel like there's someone listening to this and it's like, you're always promoting other people. Because someone has said this to me the other day. You're always promoting everyone else's stuff. And I'm going to keep promoting everyone else's stuff.
Well,
because I believe that there's so much abundance for all of us. And if I have been blessed by someone and their work, I want you to be blessed by someone and their work. I have been blessed by Courage in our community in Faith Activated. I have been blessed by you, Candice. The fact that there is even a book behind me right now, that was a direct result of working with you. And I'm so glad that you were able to get out of the overwhelm and have the energy and the capacity to support me in this work. So for everyone listening, please go visit authorsignite.com. Did I say it right?
Ignited.
Ignited.
It'll be in the show notes.
It'll be in the show notes. And of course, we invite you, if you've enjoyed what you've heard and you're curious about journaling, go to myfaithactivated.com. The Faith Activated coaching experience is now open, I think. If not, go to myfaithactivated.com and it'll tell you when it's going to open next. But I invite you to join us, become a member while the price is whatever the price is, because I promise you, it will increase.
Yeah.